Welcome to Be Your Greatest Asset, the wellbeing podcast for mums in business and working mums who want to prioritize your wellbeing but have no idea where to even start. I'm really pleased to be introducing Rachel Rowsell to you today. And we're going to be talking about shedding the shoulds and stepping into your unique potential. So, hi, Rachel. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, Michelle. Yes, thank you for having me. So I'm Rachel and I'm a women's coach and sacred self-care facilitator. It's always hard to know what to describe yourself as, isn't it? And I'm sure it'll evolve over time. I come from this space from a background in corporate, over 20 years in corporate, and then having a near-death experience, very, very nearly losing my life after the birth of my fifth child in 2020, having this huge realization of lots of things, but one of the most prominent ones being that all the striving that I had done in my life up to that point wasn't for me. And when I talk about striving, I'm talking about for external success, basically, or for all the external stuff. So I was a teenage mum at 16 and 18, and I very much took on the belief that I'd done something wrong, that I'd got life wrong, and that I needed to remedy that I needed to prove to everyone, and including myself, I guess, that I could get life right. And I did that by striving for all the qualifications. So I did my degree, still finished my degree at 21, which I would have done if I hadn't have had two children, and then went on into full-time work and getting the house, the car, all of that stuff. So I started to receive messages when I came out of the hospital that you're here to help other women through the journey you've been on. So it was quite a pivot from where I was to where I am now. But the message really is that we need to shed these shoulds, and the shoulds are who we believe we should be to get life right, basically. Sorry, Michelle, I've gone off on a rant, haven't I?
No, and I'm loving it. You're a strong woman. You've got a very good story, a very to really inspire other women, which is exactly what you want to do and step into. So you have stepped into. So yeah. So let's talk more about the shoulds and what are the shoulds that we had.
So the overwhelming should, I think, the main should is that there is some way for us to get life right. I think we take that on board. Well, we're passed on stories and beliefs as we grow. And you think, you're probably all mums listening, so you'll know this firsthand. We have a baby and the measuring begins. So of course, some of it is developmental, some of it is, health related, but there's also lots of measurements that actually aren't to do with our well-being, that are to do with academic measurement, to do with, are they walking before your friend's child, and all this measurement starts coming in, and because we experience this all through our life, and it starts at such a young age. And the way I envisage it is, it's like we're put on, at the airport you get those really long conveyor belts that you can stand on. It's like we get put on that, and then off we go on this journey in life with all these. And so if you think about, so you haven't handed your luggage in yet, so you're on this conveyor belt, and actually it's the opposite is happening. People are handing you luggage. So as you go along, and it's getting heavier and heavier and heavier, more exhausting. And, it comes to a point where you just drop all the luggage, and some of it springs open, and you realise that the things in these bags they're not your size, they don't fit you, they don't reflect you. And it's this process we take on of believing that we have to do certain things, we have to be a certain way, even down to looking a certain way, how our children look. We take everything on to mean something about us and our self-worth, and none of it is true, and that was the real deep perspective reflection that I had in the hospital. Was none of that was for me, for my soul. And that's how that's how I see it. And what, when I talk about unique potential, that's what I'm talking about, is not necessarily potential in terms of we should all be doing, because there's a way to look at potential as feeling like a pressure, like I'm not meeting my potential, I should be doing more, being more, whatever. But that's still coming from those stories, from the sort of the patriarchal stories that tell us that our measure of worth has to be visible, perhaps.
Yeah.
Measurable on the external.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's such an amazing. Oh my gosh, I've got so many questions for you now. I don't know where to start.
No, go.
I just want to, like, that's so amazing that you had that awareness and that realization. And I love your analogy of the conveyor belt. I've got this image now in my head, which will hopefully really inspire the people listening, the mums listening to this, and realize that, oh, actually, okay, I'm being handed this stuff, these beliefs that aren't my own.
Yeah.
They're just things that we have been expected to believe in, expected to do, ways we're expected to be. But actually, does it feel good to me? Like, that's what I'm really passionate about, is like, does life feel good to me? Am I actually experiencing all of life, feeling all of life? And or am I just living on autopilot? Am I just going through the motions of life? So where do I start with my questions now? So how did it feel after you had that realization? What did it feel like to suddenly go, oh my gosh, like I've got this whole new world ahead of me, like this whole new load of possibilities and opportunities?
I think it probably felt freeing and frustrating in equal measure, because it was like I was suddenly still in this world, but not of this world anymore. So my perspective was so different. But of course, the people surrounding me hadn't had that experience. So they're still expecting me to slot back, really grateful that I'm not dead, and want me to slot back in. And I couldn't, because I didn't fit that shape anymore.
Yeah.
So it's been a process of a lot of unbecoming to become who I truly am. And that's kind of the path that I take other women on. It's a gradual process of unbecoming who we think we should be, so that we can create the space to become who we truly are.
Oh, I love that. That's so powerful, so deep. Yeah, it's this process of unlearning, isn't it? And I've been on this journey for several years now, and I've been in therapies for 20 years, holistic therapies, and I can honestly say it's only been in the last maybe 3 or 4 years that I've really become aware, like really awakened in my true calling and like who I am here to be. But even within those 4 years, it's constantly changed and evolved as I'm responding to my clients and to my family and to everything. So it's we don't have to fit in this box, do we? And just fit in this box. And even when we do break free, we don't have to then stay where we land.
No.
We can keep growing and keep moving forward and keep becoming.
And that's what we're here for. I feel that we're here to grow and evolve, and it's when we're not allowing that to happen, because when we feel like we have to follow a prescribed path, of course we're not really allowing ourselves to grow and evolve, even if maybe we're progressing in a career, or we have grown our family. If we're not truly tuned into who we are and allowing that growth and expansion, then we're restricting ourselves, and it feels like a smothering, doesn't it? Like a suffocation.
Yeah, it does. When you're aware as well of that you want more, and that you're actually allowed more, that you're worthy of more, you're deserving of more. I mean, again, that is all a work in progress. Like you feel more worthy as time goes on. You start by like, well, maybe I'm deserving of this. And then as you go on, it's like, yep, I'm definitely worthy of this. Let's set this boundary. Let this be my minimum standard. I no longer tolerate X, Y, Z in my life.
Yeah,
And this is how it's going
absolutely.
to be from this day forward. And it comes with the confidence of it. You mentioned about the measurements and about the was like effectively like the comparison side of life. Like how
Yeah.
can we get out of that measurement? I mean, I'll give you an example. Like it became so apparent to me when I had a baby. So my youngest is now 7. And my 2 sisters also had babies within 2 weeks. So the 3 sisters had babies within 2 weeks of each other. And it really highlighted to me how different we all are. Like I've always known how different we are. I mean, I'm coming from a massage background. I've seen all shapes and sizes, and I don't compare other people. You just are who you are. But when we had these babies and we've got people saying, well, he doesn't talk very well, or she talks really clearly. Oh, but why can't she read yet? Oh, but he's not walking yet, or he's walking fast, but she's not. And like this constant comparison, it's like, guys, will you just shut up? Like they will do what they do when they're good and ready, when they are capable, when they feel confident, when it feels good to them. And it's like, wow, this really does happen from a young age.
Yeah.
We need to
Yeah.
stop this. So how can we get out of this loop of like measuring ourselves based on what other people expect and this
I
comparison?
think one of the most important things for us to remember is that so you are totally unique. There will never be another one of you ever. And I think that the statistical chance of us being born is something like 4 trillion to 1 or 400 trillion to 1. It's some enormously huge number. So we're walking miracles. Right? You think about what had to happen. And when you're going back thousands of years for what had to line up for us to exist today.
Yeah.
And
can't imagine it.
and yet we get so caught up on this measurement. Like, is my toe hairy? Have I got cellulite on my bottom? My child got 7 out of 10 on their spellings and so-and-so's got full marks. And actually it's like taking a bird's eye view. So if you imagine you were lifting yourself up and watching the world from above, or lifting yourself up and watching someone's timeline, these tiny little things that we compare ourselves on don't feature. And the other thing, and it's the thing I constantly remind myself of, is if you had a year, a week, whatever, a month to live, what would matter to you?
Yeah, that's a powerful one, isn't it?
Because tomorrow is not promised to anybody.
Yeah.
And when we
go on.
Sorry, go on, carry on, Michelle.
I was going to say, like if I die tomorrow, I want to know that I've had my happiest day today. Like I don't want to waste time. Like, you've had that near-death experience, which in some, was scary, and as awful as it was, it's been a blessing. You've turned it into a blessing and something that's really helped you and helped other women. I've had a similar experience where I nearly lost my husband 4 years ago. And that made me realize, like, oh wow, like, okay, I've been taking certain things for granted, and even still, like, I'm realizing that I'm taking things for granted. It's like, no.
Yeah.
And yeah, we are, like, as a whole, like all the individual things, like the hairy toes and everything, it's like they are so insignificant. Yeah, we put so much pressure on ourselves to be these perfect beings that you can't actually be perfect, because I believe that perfect means something different to everybody, like something different to everybody.
And like what even is perfect? There is no such thing, is there? It's perfect. And I can't remember what I was going to say. Ask me another question, Michelle.
Ask me another question. Well, let's talk about potential then? Because I've had
Yeah.
clients asking me, like, how do I know even what I'm here for? Like I'm just going through the motions of life. What is my purpose? How do I even know? Where do I begin?
Yeah.
How
Okay. Yeah.
how would you break that down?
Okay. Yeah. This is a good question. So, for much of my adult life, I used to wonder, is this it? And I used to look around me and watch everyone, kind of on the same Groundhog Day conveyor belt as I was, thinking, well, no one else seems to be asking, is this it? So maybe this is it. But there's always this constant nagging feeling of this cannot be it. This can't be what we're here for. Like this, and that's basically what it's the question of what's my purpose. It's feeling like there must be a greater reason for life. And the way I see my near-death experience is that was answered for me. That constant asking, I was given the answers to. And our purpose, and the reason I specifically say what potential, our unique potential, is because I feel like the word potential can bring up those messages about I should be more, doing more. Whereas our unique potential is simply being our true self. So the journey to your purpose is actually the journey back to you. So it's shedding the layers, it's tuning into what feels good for you. And I call it the ecstatic yeses. And that is when, so we feel our inner wisdom, our intuition in our body. And this is really what we want to learn to listen to, because we're taught from such a young age about what we think, and we're up in the head all the time. And that's why we get ourselves in such a muddle. That's why there's so much anxiety and depression in the world, because we're so focused in our mind, and our mind cannot give us the answers to our purpose, to tuning into ourselves, to what's really meaningful for us. Because actually our heart leads the way, our mind is just there to work out the details, which is absolutely amazing at.
And to keep us safe and in
Yeah.
fear as well, and to stop us doing
Yeah.
things that there's no evidence for yet.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
So our potential, our purpose is to come back to us. So it's starting to tune into these ecstatic yeses. So, when you see or you hear something, or you just think, yeah, I really want to do that. And then your mind chips in with all the reasons why you shouldn't, couldn't, can't.
Yeah.
And that's how we keep ourselves stuck. That's how we stay unfulfilled, because we're shutting down our inner wisdom, our intuition. So it's the easiest way to start realigning yourself gently back onto the path to your purpose and your potential, is to listen to those ecstatic yeses and just be curious and just go with one. Just just a little one, and then you start to get the confidence of, oh, okay, yeah, that feels really good, and now I've done that thing. That's, I feel like my cup is fuller. So next time I get one of those, I'm going to listen again. And it's the same thing with the no's. When you get a definite no, I don't want to, you get that sense of no, but then your mind chips in, the people pleaser comes in or whatever and tells you all the reasons you should. And I'm not talking about hoovering and stuff like that. Of course, we'd rather all not do that if we didn't have to. And it's listening to that. It's saying, okay, so this time, instead of saying yes because I feel like I should, I'm going to listen. And I'm going to go and read my book in the bath, whatever the thing is, rather than say yes to going and meeting so-and-so for a coffee. Someone, we all have people that we say yes to that we don't actually enjoy their company or whatever it is. And that's how we come back to ourselves. Can you see how easily we lose ourselves, how easily we come off the track? Because basically we're not given the space in our society, as from such a young age, we're not given the space to know who we are.
Yeah. And we're expected to get on this treadmill and just keep going, full steam ahead, not giving ourselves that time to rest and relax and recuperate and recharge. So so you're saying that like the ecstatic yeses, they can be, because ecstatic to me means like it's quite a big word. It's like,
Yeah.
drum roll kind of word, but it doesn't have to be complicated. It can be really simple. So you've
Oh,
suggested
yeah.
like going to read your book, for example. So that could be an ecstatic yes, if that feels more
Yeah.
aligned to you than the other thing that you feel like you should be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or it could be you see a poster up for a new yoga class, or I don't know, learn Spanish class or something. And it's like, oh, yeah, I'd really want, yeah, it's like that, you get that initial, and then you think, oh,
Excitement.
well, I probably shouldn't, because, the kids have got this and this is this and this is this. And so
Mm.
it's instead of automatically shutting it down, it's okay, right? How can I make this work? And it might be, well, I can't make that particular class, but this is something that really sparks an interest in me. So maybe there's an online class, maybe there's another way that I can fit this into my schedule.
Absolutely, yeah. Solution finding rather than just an instant, oh no, this isn't for me, I can't do it. Yeah,
Yeah.
brilliant. Great stuff. Wow. Do you have anything else to share on potential, unique potential, or the shoulds?
I think really it's taking the pressure off ourselves in terms of when we get the messages and the feelings, and when I say messages, I'm really meaning feelings, like that internal message that I'm just not happy, or I'm just not fulfilled, or I can't put my finger on what it is. I can't seem to find the thing that fills the gap. Just bear in mind and in heart that it's a sign, it's a communication from yourself, basically, your higher self, your true self, to say something's offline here, somewhere we've gone off track. And when we get that real building frustration that turns into resentment and anger, it's because we're not answering the call. We're pushing it down, shushing, shush, shush, shush. And she gets quite angry with us.
Yeah,
She wants us to live our soul purpose life
absolutely.
as much as we can. So it's to start giving yourself permission just to start listening, and to write down some stuff, it's just to let it come out. So the initial, I think sometimes it's really difficult when people know us in a certain way. It's very difficult for us to then suddenly sort of start integrating stuff for ourselves into life. But the start of the journey can just be inside and internal, which of course it is, and most of the work is inside.
Yeah.
So it's just about allowing and noticing that voice, and maybe doing a bit of journaling, and just put your bit of paper in the bin if you're worried someone's going to see it. Or
Yeah. Yeah. No, I found that for myself, that I learned to stop sharing my journey with people who I know didn't get it.
yeah,
And
yeah,
you're right, it is the people who know us in a certain way, the people who've known us, since childhood, who know us to behave and act in a certain way. And there's certain people in my life, and I actually get pulled back to that past version of myself.
yeah,
And it's then on reflection, because I've become very aware of my behavior and how I hold myself, and like I like to reflect and journal and think about, okay, well, I didn't actually particularly like that version of me. Like, what happened there? How can I do that differently? What could I have done differently there? What can I learn from this to save me from going back to that place, that version of me, when I know that I've grown so much and that I deserve
yeah,
so much more than the way I'm being expected to behave now, just because people can change. People can change.
yeah,
And so so I learned to keep my journey, my sort of my growth journey to myself to a point. I started to find new people who I felt safe to share it with, like the online circles, for example, going to women's
yeah,
circles. I mean, you and I both hold women's circles. The coaching, finding other people who you can trust, who you feel safe with, and who are on a similar journey and only want to see you succeed.
Yeah.
Want to
And
live your potential.
yeah, and people that are inspired by it, like, you know,
Yeah.
that's who we want to surround ourselves with, really. It's people who are, we should be each other's cheerleaders. And that's why circles are so powerful, isn't it? Because it's a space, there's so much fear around putting your hand up and saying, this is not the way I want my life to be. Because we feel like
I'm different. I don't agree with
I
that
don't
way.
I don't feel like I fit in with that world. But actually, I think if we did a poll and everyone was very honest, there'd be a lot of people that would say, yeah, no, this world is not for me. Something is not working here for me.
There's not a single person you would meet, and you know, if you that hasn't got a dream, hasn't got something that they would like to change in their life. Because like, you are allowed to change things in your life. You are allowed to want more.
Absolutely,
and we're taught that you shouldn't want more. That's greedy, you know, or you shouldn't want more money. Like, money doesn't grow on trees, and you know, all of that stuff. But actually, like, when you think of it, like, you know, if you want more and you feel happier because you're you know, bringing this into your life, you're living the life that you want to live, then think how much your vibration is raised, how much more light you're putting into the world, and how you're impacting everybody else around you, just because you said an ecstatic yes to yourself. And you know, it's just a powerful ripple effect. That's
it really is. And when we're doing it, you know, most of us are mums, we want to set that example, don't we? We don't want our children to get to late 30s, early 40s and start thinking something's not right here. I've got everything I thought I should have. I've ticked the list and I'm miserable. Like, what's gone wrong?
Yeah, quite.
We get to show them there's a different way.
And the thing is, like, I don't blame my parents now for not showing me that way, because they weren't shown. And you know,
no.
But we've just chosen, like, and if you're listening to this, like, you're choosing now to just break that cycle. And to start this new way, new paradigms.
And that's it. That was another big realization I had in the hospital and in the preceding weeks, is how many choices we have. We have so many choices, particularly, you know, we live in the UK and we're restricted really by very few things. And yet we feel so often that we have no choice. You know, I felt so often at stages in my life that I had no choice. And it wasn't that I had no choice, it was that I feared the consequences of that choice. And that's what keeps us stuck.
Yeah, you couldn't see a different way. But then when we're living in that heightened sense of overwhelm and adrenaline and that heightened nervous system, effectively, that is when you're shut off to the possibilities and the opportunities. And then it's when you start to retreat, to go within, to reflect, to, you know, listen to the signs, like you said, say like resentment, frustration. They are like key signs to go, okay, thank you for thank you for this sign. Okay, what is it telling me? Because I don't want to feel resentment, I don't want to feel frustration. And then when you can start to, you know, thank those signs and everything, then I completely forgot what I was going to say. But yeah, you got the gist anyway there. When no, I've completely forgot. It's gone. My head's
it's our emotional awareness system, isn't it? So our emotions are there to give us messages, and either they're genuine messages, sometimes they're messages that come from stories that we can rewrite. Like, for a long time I was in victim mode, like, why is this happening to me? And I felt like a victim, but I wasn't a victim, of course. I know that now, but so that was a story that had to be rewritten so that I could get to my true feeling of emotions. But any emotion is is something to explore. It's something that's coming up for us to look at. Like, particularly the ones that we don't want to feel, they're the ones we notice the most.
And they're the ones that we most need to explore to find out
They
why,
are.
how we can get
Yeah.
better aligned. I know what I was going to say. I was talking about like the nervous system, wasn't I? When you're in a heightened state of nervous system, living in adrenaline mode, and it's when you come back to yourself, that's where you see those choices, where you actually realize, well, actually, I do have a choice. I do have a choice. But like, you think every single day you're making choices. You know, you decide what earrings to wear, what perfume to wear, what clothes to wear, what shoes to put on, whether to get a coffee in the morning, whether whether to have a tea, or who you talk to in the morning on the school run. You know, there's every single thing you're doing in the day is a choice.
Yeah.
Rachel's chosen to show up today and talk to me. So I'm very, very grateful for you for doing that.
Yeah.
And you've got a gift, haven't you, for our listeners today?
Yeah, I've got a higher self-connection meditation that you can go on and download. You'll get it in an email. And I just love this connection in with our higher self and the visualization. It really helps us when we can hold a vision. It's a really good way to start unlocking our journey. When we can hold a vision of where we're going and have this image of our higher self, it becomes so much easier to connect in, to communicate, to when we feel stuck, to rather than keep asking someone else, because no one actually can advise us. It's all we have all the answers inside ourselves. We can connect in with her and ask her, and also playing the vision. Playing in the vision is my favorite thing to do. I love it.
It's life-changing. I did that.
Yeah.
I played in the vision. You know my story.
Yes.
The moving to Scotland was the vision, owning land, having this cup of coffee in the morning and looking out over my land. And I've got two places now, two physical locations where I actually see that vision in my house. And then like the rest of the views are spectacular anyway. So you play in that vision and you can actually make it happen, because you start to become that person who is living that life in the vision. And I can vouch for Rachel's meditation as well, because you've guided me through this before, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
It was very, what's the word, I was given a key during my meditation by this old lady. That's my higher self. I was like, wow, like there's just so much opportunity for me here. And I started to think of all this new opportunity and all the new possibilities. And it's definitely worth having a listen and a relax too. So I'll put the link in the show notes. And Rachel, do you have any last words of wisdom, even if it's something that you've already said before, to reiterate, or something?
Yeah, I do. I read a book actually recommended by someone quite a while after I came out of the hospital, but it's called something like 5 Biggest Regrets of the Dying. And it's written by a end-of-life nurse. And the biggest regret was living a life that isn't true to me. And that was my biggest regret too. I know that I've lived it. So my mission is to stop anyone else doing that, and remembering how valuable every day is, and choosing you and filling up your cup.
Yeah, just remembering how precious life actually is, that we are miracles walking on earth, and that we are actually quite fragile and insignificant in the grand scheme of things. So
yes, we are.
So we need to make it really count. Really count.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing your beautiful story, your beautiful words of wisdom, and inspiring our lovely listeners today.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.